I'm intrigued by this title, Inverted Collapse. So what do you mean inverted? What does that mean? What's going on here?
You know, at first I called it, that was my working title for probably 2 years. I called it the mirrored collapse. The
Okay.
mirrored collapse. And when you look in the mirror, you see yourself there, except left is right and right is left. You have uh,
Yep.
your right and left are juxtaposed,
Switched. Uh-huh.
right? And I liked it, except I thought that it was not intense enough, perhaps not like in your face enough, maybe on mirrored collapse. A lot of people may not get it. And I was thinking about it, and inverted collapse occurred to me on several occasions. And then one of my followers actually suggested it. And I was thinking, yeah, that's a great word. I actually liked it myself. And what I'm talking about when I talk about inverted collapse, many people actually read a great book by Dmitry Orlov, Reinventing Collapse. That was mid 2000s. Paul, I believe you even interviewed him, right?
Yes,
At
I
one
did.
point. Yes.
Yes, he's very good.
Yeah, he's very good. I remember reading it myself. It probably was around 2005. And at the time, incidentally, he has a very similar background to mine. His family and himself, they left Russia, I believe, either late 80s or early 90s, around the same time as I did. He found, I believe he also went to school here. I did not go to school here, found a lucrative job, did pretty well in the US, lived in Boston, basically in the Northeast, just, we both are Northeasterners, so to speak, here. And we have a lot of similar background this way. I believe he's from Moscow also, although I also lived in Odessa as well. A lot of similarities. And at some point, we both apparently started questioning, sooner or later, questioning what was happening in the US, how all this was related, what was happening with the collapse of the USSR. And he went ahead and wrote that book, and he did a great job. That book awoke so many people. Except later, when I started getting into geopolitics, for me it happened later because I didn't want to get into geopolitics for a long time, simply because I so despise confrontation of any sort, even perceived confrontation. But the events in Ukraine in 2013-14 just made me like go full force into that, because I really needed to tell people the real story, the real truth of what was happening, because lies were everywhere about what was happening in Ukraine. And the rest is history. I started writing Future Strandcast, and LadaRay.com appeared, and then Earthshift Report, and my Earthshift theory that I began developing earlier in 2012 started developing further, and now I intend to write more books. But going back to Reinvented Collapse, I started questioning a lot of things that him and other gurus and other specialists and perceived specialists tell us about what happened and what is happening, and when the West will collapse and how it will collapse. Do you remember all these stories? By now, we should have collapsed, right? Everywhere in the West. US should have collapsed. The dollar should have collapsed. The gold and silver should have been through the roof. Where is all that? Why did it not happen?
Good
And
questions.
yes, well, all these questions are answered in Inverted Collapse and in the future webinars that are coming out soon. It's a trio of webinars: Inverted Collapse, then the future of money with my predictions, and the third one is specifically about my period 8 theory and the cycle of periods which are the Eastern, based on the Eastern cycles. And that's going to be the third webinar. It's going to be period 8 predictions by Lada Ray. So
Okay, wait.
anybody interested, go to my ladaray.com site. Yes?
Okay, just a second. I can't let that go. Many of my listeners, that future of money sounds interesting. Can you just even just give us a taste of that? What's the future of money?
The future of money. We are going to be discussing
Uh-huh.
the paper money, fiat currencies, and
Mm-hmm.
how I see it. Remember, all Western fiat currencies should have been collapsed by now, right? According to all the predictions from gurus and experts. Well, I see it differently. I want to explain what will happen with fiat currencies all over the world, including US dollar, euro, what will happen to yuan, what will happen to the ruble, and some other currencies. We might touch upon Australian and Canadian dollar and my predictions for how everything will be performing going forward. Up until the end of period date, that's going to be up until 2023. And
Mm-hmm.
what will happen after period date ends, which is the beginning of 2024, we're starting period 9. So I'm going to give you a glimpse of the beginning of period 9. Then we will discuss gold and silver, and generally precious metals, and why they have not gone through the roof up until now, and what I see going forward for the metals. I will also just give you a glimpse of real estate. It's not the future of money per se, but it could serve as basically a money converter or an investment of sorts. Also, we will talk digital and alternative cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin. We will probably focus mostly on Bitcoin and how I see it, what it really means multidimensionally. I will discuss everything from the third dimensional perspective, which
Mm-hmm.
is physical perspective, that the world that we primarily live in, but we are also stepping into 4D. We're in low 4D, like one of our feet as humanity is in 3D, another is lower 4D. And so cryptocurrencies, that's already 4D stuff. And I want to give predictions about that. And this is mainly what we will be discussing.
Oh, okay. By the way, Putin briefly talked to Vitalik, the man behind Ethereum, which is the #2 cryptocurrency.
Mm-hmm.
I guess at the St. Petersburg conference. I'm not sure, but anyway, recently in the last week or so. So clearly, that's another topic for the future.